Today I'm going to be reviewing Ratchet Clank Rift Apart. Now, the reason I waited so long to review this title is when it first released, it had a lot of issues. And I'm a massive Ratchet Clank fan, so I wanted to cut Insomniac some slack. This is one of the few high profile games that released right during the pandemic. So I know that the last 2 years, maybe the last year and a half developing this game was super hectic, and I wanted to wait till they got it fully patched up. And now that they've announced it for PC, I feel like it's a perfect time to go ahead and do my review. Now, I need to, reiterate this is the PS5 version I'm reviewing. I do not have the PC version. I don't plan on getting it. But, this if you're interested in the game, this review is going to be very informative. All right, let's get into it. As always, I'm going to start with the bad and slowly work my way to the good. The biggest issue I had with this game was mainly its bugs and glitches. Luckily, none of them affected my personal story progression. Now, I've heard of other people having issues with, the story progression from bugs and glitches. From my personal experience, that wasn't the case, but I did have a number of glitches that affected my overall trophy progression. With that being said, though, it's still a better. It's overall the trophies are still far better than Ratchet and Clank PlayStation 4. I actually was able to get my platinum fairly easy. I did have to go back and play the game all over again because of one trophy glitch. But aside from that, everything went smoothly. Now, the biggest issue I have is there is a lot of glitches that just really show an
Thank God,
overall
man.
lack of polish.
Oh, those Zerbstones. Trudy and I couldn't have asked for a better pal.
It's a trap! No, 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 no!
I think Sony should have ultimately delayed the game. I feel like a lot of these bugs and glitches stem from Insomniac having to develop this game during the height of the pandemic. And I feel like right now, in the current state it is, at least on PlayStation 5, this is the best it's going to get. Hopefully we get some more patches, but I doubt it. I mean, they're getting ready to start working on Wolverine. They're going to finish up Spider-Man 2. And then they have they have an untitled multiplayer game coming out. So I believe like this is it. I believe the last update we received is that's it. We're not getting anything else. Another thing that disappointed me about this game is the overall size and length. This is the shortest mainline Ratchet and Clank title. Now, they said it's supposed to clock in at 10 and a half hours. I personally think it may be even shorter than that. I played through the game again on challenge mode, and after an hour and a half, I was already 32% done with the story. It's simply just not that long. Now, if you try to complete everything, there's a okay amount of side content. You might be able to plump that out to maybe 20 hours, maybe 21 hours, but altogether it's still not really that much content when you compare it to games like A Crack in Time or Tools and Destruction. I'm sorry, Tools of Destruction. It is way, way shorter than them, and a lot of things that those games offered are missing here. Now, they've added new additions, like instead of having the moons of A Crack in Time, you now have the pocket dimensions. Now, in my opinion, the pocket dimensions they're far worse. The pocket dimensions are some of the laziest things I've seen in this series. Some of the pocket dimensions are so small you can literally complete them in seconds. You basically walk into the pocket dimension, you do a little bit of platforming, you get the one item in the pocket dimension, and that's it. There's nothing else there for you. When you compare this to past titles and look at it in comparison specifically to A Crack in Time's moons, you see it's just a massive, massive downgrade. The moons in A Crack in Time were some of my favorite platforming segments in all the Ratchet and Clank games. I love the variety and depth that the moons offered. Some of them had unique environmental puzzles. Some of them had different unlocks such as golden bolts or weapon mods. It was just a lot of variety with the moons. There was a lot more time put into them. Whereas here with the pocket dimensions, it's the opposite. They all feel underdeveloped and undercooked and borderline unnecessary. On top of this, the game is devoid of any type of ship combat. A lot of what we come to expect from the series is missing in action. For example, there is no Insomniac Museum. It's a lot of things that are kind of just missing from this game. And at first, when I first played it, I was thinking that maybe it was just like a creative choice. Maybe they're going a different direction with the game. But, after spending more time with the game, I feel like this is because they were pretty much rushing it out the door. And I mean, that's pretty much game development 101. If you want to meet your deadline, you cut content. So hopefully the next Ratchet and Clank title has a far longer dev cycle so we can get what we've been accustomed to. Okay, now let's talk about some of the things I have mixed feelings about. And let's start with the character Rivet. Now, initially, I did not like the fact that they basically pulled the Metal Gear Solid 2 on us and did the bait and switch. Now, after spending time with the game and actually, giving the character a chance, I will admit I actually do like Rivet. The problem I have, though, is the fact that they sold us Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. They didn't sell us Rivet and Kit Rift Apart. They didn't sell us Rivet and Clank Rift Apart. I don't know. It just feels a bit disingenuous, and it really just felt like a bait and switch tactic. And I have no problem with the female protagonist. I have no problem with some two a male and female protagonists sharing a game. Perfect example of this is Infamous Second Son. As you guys know, if you guys have been on the channel long enough, you're a subscriber. I absolutely love Infamous Second Son. I'm a massive fan of that game. One of my favorite PlayStation 4 games. I bought First Light the second it was available on PSN. I absolutely love that game also. I actually played First Light even more than I played Infamous Second Son. And I feel like that's what you're supposed to do. If you want to sell me a character, give that character their own game. Don't piggyback them on top of another character. Because my biggest issue with this game is I did not have enough time to play as Ratchet. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I feel like the story really suffered from having to juggle all these new character introductions. And I mean, like, perfect example, it's not just Rivet that's being introduced into the story now. You also have Rivet and Kit. And then you have the overall backstory of Rivet and Kit. And then you have them coming together and forming a partnership, much like Ratchet and Clank did. And then you have Ratchet and Clank all having their own separate stories. It just becomes too much. And then once again, this circles back to the game being short. It's only 10 hours. And then you're trying to add all these different stories and all these different narratives and just mash them all together. And I feel like I'm not going to say things got lost in translation, but I feel like they simply just tried to do too much in too little time. And I feel like the story suffered from it greatly. I would have personally liked if they had released a game like this game, for example, this game released and mainly or entirely from Ratchet's perspective, and then they released DLC with Rivet. I feel like that would have worked a lot better as opposed to just cramming them together. Another issue I have with this is Rivet's game. This is not Ratchet's game. Now, at first, when I played this game, I thought, well, wait a minute, the game starts with Ratchet. Actually, it doesn't. Now, you are able to play as Ratchet first, but the game starts with Rivet. And then look at everything else in the game. All the Easter eggs are for Rivet. The story is mainly behind Rivet. You're in Rivet's dimension. It's like everything is for Rivet. You can only go to the arena as Rivet. Everything important happens to Rivet. Ratchet is very much an accessory character here. And it's like it kind of just bums me out, man, because it's like, think about it. We're spending like $70. I'm a massive Ratchet fan. Like, Rivet's a new character. Like I said, I like her. She's cool, but Rivet's the new character here. I spent $70 to play Ratchet, and now he's playing sidekick to this new character I don't even know. Now let's segue into the positives. I still believe this is currently the best looking game on PS5. I am consistently impressed with the visuals every single time I play. The amount of detail and action on screen is simply unmatched. On top of this, it also has amazing load times that quickly thrust you back into the action. From a presentation and technology standpoint, this game is truly next gen. I mean, I don't think a lot of games are next gen. They just have the label. This feels like a next gen title. The visuals, the overall consistency. I mean, like, that's one thing I will give Insomniac massive props on. When the action is going, when you're dealing with all the enemies on screen, the explosions, you never run into any frame rate dips. I've never encountered a crash. Now I have ran into a number of glitches, but no crashes. It's been buttery smooth. I believe it has a consistent 60 frames per second too, with this insane level of presentation. I also feel like the platforming is at its strongest here with many welcome additions. This is the most fun I've had platforming in a Ratchet and Clank title. I feel like they really nailed down this visceral, fast-paced experience that really stands out from past titles. Now, I've always thought the platforming was good in Ratchet and Clank, but here I feel like they're starting to hone in on a unique identity that is basically exclusive to them. I hope they keep a lot of the things present from this game and basically make it a staple in the franchise. Now, as for combat, not much of the core gameplay has changed, but that's a positive. One new addition that stands out is the DualSense adaptive triggers that ensure most weapons feel different. The amount of pressure you apply to the triggers will determine your fire rate, alt fire, or use of a half press to access different weapon options. For me, personally, this is one of the best experiences with the controller right next to Astro's Playroom. Lastly, we want to talk about the comedy.
Clank.
Huh? So then I says, listen, Mort. You, Mort, and Mort better hide that lemonade before Mort shows up.
Whoa!
I will admit, I actually did like the comedy and humor of this game. There was a lot of jokes that landed for me, and I just like the overall campy vibe. Overall, I did like this game. It's a solid title. I just don't think it's as good as its predecessors. And hopefully, the next title will basically succeed everything that I've talked about in this game. I would just love to see next gen a crack in time. You know, basically with the moons, the space travel, the open world gameplay, the expansive side quests, the massive map. I would love to see that next gen, and that's I don't know about you guys, but that's what I was expecting from this game. But I'm not gonna, obviously I'm not gonna review it for what it's not. I'm gonna review it for what it is. And with that, I give this game, Ratchet and Clank, a Rift Apart, an 8 out of 10. Now, if you take the glitches away and it was like absolutely perfect, no glitches, I would probably give it 8.5, maybe an 8.8. But as it is right now, I would give it 8 out of 10. Hopefully you guys liked the video. Like, comment, subscribe. If you didn't like the video, let me know in the comments. Keep it respectful. All right, I'll see y'all next video. Peace.